All right, let's now bring in someone who we are not fully convinced actually exists. I was worried. I thought maybe you had moved to a different planet, but I now know, Grant Brisbee of The Athletic, that you're back because of lines like "Long live odd year poppycock." That's what I'm talking about, Grant. I don't know many writers who can come up with that. I just know you.
This is the odd year poppycock. It's got a ring to it, right?
I listen, why are you not in the marketing meetings for the Giants? They're coming out of there with things like nothing like it, and you could have had odd year poppycock.
I mean, I would work like on commission on a freelance basis, so, hit me up.
All right, there it is. Grant Brisbee, The Athletic. How are you, my friend? What do you think of this? How sustainable is what's going on right now?
Well, first, I just want to throw my 2 cents in and just say, as long as Jim Tomsula isn't coaching anywhere, I'm fine with anything else.
Yeah.
But as far as the Giants, man, it's a lot of fun to write about a team that is winning like this and coming from behind and just playing compelling baseball with young players. It's fun to write about. I mean, what else can you say?
You can say that this team's 10 games below 500 and wins the next amateur draft, but instead we're looking at all these youngsters, Grant, who have come up and really looked like they belong. What has been your big takeaway from the past month of looking at Schmitt and Matos and Bailey and the other youngsters come up?
So I'm a little bit bearish on the fact that Patrick Bailey is just going to be right away an offensive force. I think there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. The league's going to adjust to him. He's going to take a step back. Doesn't matter. As far as his value goes, his value is on the field. His value is as a field general. That shouldn't go away. He's been incredible. I think Casey Schmitt is already starting to adjust to the adjustment that the league made. I don't know how that's going to go. There's still a long way for him to get to even be like halfway normal when it comes to swing decisions and plate discipline. But Luis Matos, that is the guy that I'm all in. I'm willing to look ridiculous in a few years just because you can't fake that kind of bat-to-ball skill, that kind of eye. He's got the athleticism. He's not chasing. He's not looking rushed. I write in like every other article, I mentioned that the last homegrown Giants outfielder to make the All-Star team is Chili Davis. And I'm tired of mentioning that. It's not a fun fact anymore. It's an unfun fact. So, let's go, Luis Matos. Let's get to the All-Star game.
Well, I'm sure there are other fan bases who feel this way also, but when you looked around over the last handful of years in the bigs and you see the Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s and the Acuñas and the Sotos, I think the thought was, how come we can't have a 21-year-old hot shot? And you speak to it with your Chili Davis comment, and I'm with you, Grant. Like Dibs just asked, if you're going to buy a jersey for one of your kids, who would it be? And I'm willing to be totally silly and 6 games in say that's the guy. So you think he's here to stay, huh?
I do. I don't think just the way he's handling himself, the at-bats he's having, like even when he's not getting hits, he's getting productive outs. He's moving Mike Yastrzemski to third in that 9th inning rally. He doesn't look intimidated by the big leagues, and you haven't even seen his real gap-to-gap power yet. So I think he's in. And yeah, you're right. Like you look around the league, and the Diamondbacks have Corbin Carroll, who's maybe one of the best players on the planet right now. And they drafted him 16th overall, right after the Angels drafted Will Wilson. It's not like the Diamondbacks out-scouted everyone. I mean, they kind of did. But he just fell to them, and they got a little bit lucky. That's what the draft is. And in the first round, the Giants have not gotten that little extra push of luck when they draft someone like Hunter Bishop, when they draft someone like Will Bednar. It's not someone who's rushing up to the majors right away. And darn it, I'm greedy. I want one. I want a prospect like that to cover. I want a Corbin Carroll, and so I'm hoping Luis Matos is that guy.
I think we're all hoping for that, and Kyle Harrison would be another prospect who could be equally awe-inspiring. You mentioned luck, and I'm reading your piece in The Athletic about 9th inning comebacks and just how rare they are. How much of that would you attribute to luck or just a team that happens to be performing in the clutch a lot this year?
Yeah, I was on the fence about where to go with that as far as, how much is luck, and I wanted to go through and find the teams, like, did it happen more in the seasons where there was a long postseason run, or 1997 when you had the Destiny team that surprised everyone? Was it tied to grit? Was it tied to this? I don't think so. I think it is just sort of a little bit of luck of the draw if you're a very good team. like the 2021 Giants, you're going to have more of those wins because you have more pieces to put in high leverage situations. You have more pitchers who can hold the line until that ninth inning when you can make that rally. You have more pinch hitters that you can put up there, platoon advantages that Gabe Kapler can play with. I don't want to dismiss it because players aren't robots. If it exists, I don't know if I can find it. But maybe that sort of grit and moxie and daring do, maybe it does exist. I don't know. It seems like they have it this year, that's for sure.
The Giants have won 9 in a row. Grant Brisbee, who's covered the team for many, many moons with The Athletic, joining us here on Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Grant, I know for fans this is hard to quantify, therefore hard to have an opinion about in 2023 because nobody even really seems to know what managers do anymore other than follow spreadsheets, right? But how do you think Gabe Kapler's doing this year?
How many, I'll answer the question with the question. How many complaints are you guys getting about the bullpen these days?
Not many.
Not that many.
Yeah, not many.
Yeah. When the pitchers are effective, you stop hearing a lot of complaints about the bullpen. And really, what he's doing with that bullpen, he's kind of treading new ground. There isn't a super established blueprint for what he's doing when it comes to Tristan Beck, Jacob Junis, Keaton Wynn, when you have Sean Manaea, when you're having these long relievers, they're pseudo-starters. You can think of the Giants as having a 4-man rotation right now or even a 3-man rotation and having to use bullpen games, or you can think of them as having like a 7-man rotation, except 3 of those starters or 4 of those starters are going to give you 4 innings, and they're going to come in the second inning. And he's been able to manage that deftly. I've really been impressed because it's not like he's putting Tristan Beck out there and he's pushing him for 3-4 innings, and then 2 days later he's out of relievers, and Tristan, get back in there. He's not grinding these guys down. When a Beck, when a Junis goes 3-4 innings, they get starter rest. They get 3-4 days of rest, and then they'll come back in. And what that's doing is it's taking so much pressure off of the Rogers twins. It's taking pressure off of John Brebbia when he's healthy, Scott Alexander when he's healthy. Right now you've got Ryan Walker and Luke Jackson. Luke Jackson, it's risky to rely on a high-leverage reliever who's coming off Tommy John surgery, but he's in a really sweet spot. He is not getting grounded to a fine powder. You think back to the days of Jim Brower, and you think back to get Doug Henry up for the 37th time in a row. That's not happening now. It's been kind of remarkable. And even when it was 2021 and the Giants had all these good arms and they were doing a lot of good things, they still had that problem when they were grinding some of their pitchers into dust. I don't see that happening now, and I think Kapler deserves a lot of credit for that.
Grant Brisbee joining us. You come for the insights, but you stay for the random name drops. For those of us who are Brisbee acolytes.
And the poppycock.
Without a doubt.
I'm here for the poppycock.
I'm here for the random throwout of names just from days gone by. You mentioned the 7-man rotation. It's a 3-man, it's a 7-man, however you want to look at it. Does this work in October, or do they need to do something between now and the deadline, Grant?
I would think you can't always rely on this system. It's working now, and when it works, it looks like a stroke of genius. But you have to rely on 4 pitchers who are not necessarily established, but they are less than ultra established. Where you have Junis and Beck and Wynn, and you're counting on all of them to remain effective for this to work. If just one of those links in the chain starts getting a bad case of gopheritis, Junis has had his ups and downs, but he's generally been solid. Just one of those links goes away, and then you have one less option to bring in a close game, one less option to stretch it out. When you've got a 1-run game, you're kind of shying away from one of these struggling pitchers. Then the whole thing starts to fall apart. So to answer your question, yeah, I think one more starter makes a ton of sense, especially when you get to the postseason and you have Logan Webb. You can count on Logan Webb. You should be able to be confident in Alex Cobb when he comes back from the IL. And he's someone who can give you length. But one more guy in the postseason, I think, would make a ton of sense. It would make a ton of sense for the rest of the regular season as well.
Well, of course, we know the pitfalls of anyone coming out of the minors. But could that guy be Kyle Harrison? When do you think we're going to see him?
It could be Kyle Harrison. I do think the Giants aren't putting on a show about not calling him up. They are concerned about his command and his control. They're not stretching him out, so I think if he does come up, he would be more of the Tristan Beck type. He would be that Keaton Wynn, where you would see him in the middle innings. Maybe you'd see him like an Alex Wood, where you'd see him for the first 4 innings. But I'm not sure if they are feeling especially rushed to do that right now. Not with Wynn pitching well, not with Beck pitching well. I think they're content to let him apply his trade in Sacramento, get that command and control down. It could be that the plan is to have him be the secret weapon in the postseason or toward the end of the season, much like the Rays did with David Price when he came up last decade. I mean, that was a guy who made, I think, one appearance in the majors before he became a postseason sensation. So maybe that's the plan, maybe not. I don't think the urgency is necessarily there yet, even with Cobb on the IL and Stripling on the IL.
Is there a need to really define the back end of the bullpen and their roles because Camilo Doval has been so dominant, or can they just play everything off of Doval and kind of pick and choose when they want to use a Rogers or an Alexander?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And for all the praise that I was giving Kapler for his use of the long relievers and how it's protecting Luke Jackson and the Rogers twins, it's not really protecting Doval from overuse. If it's a close game and it's the ninth inning, it's Doval. If it's a tie game and they're at home, it's Doval. Doval's going to come in these situations, and the Giants are just good enough to have a lot of these situations, but not great enough to blow other teams out and not require Doval every night. So I actually wonder if there's a way to fold more Rogers saves. If you look at the matchup and you see, okay, they've got a bunch of right-handers coming up, we're going to use Tyler. If you've got a bunch of left-handers coming up, maybe use Taylor. Or you can have, they can each get the other side out, so you have a mix and match there. I'm wondering if there's a way to back off of Doval a little bit. I know that sounds heretical because he's pitching so well, but that's the one arm that I worry about going into the September and October months.
Grant, are you getting ready to do a lot of writing about Shohei, or do you think that's just like pie in the sky? What do you think?
I mean, of course I'm going to write about it. I need those clicks. I need those subscriptions.
There you go.
Papa needs a new pair of shoes. So, yeah, I'll write about it. Will it happen? Who can say yes after this offseason? I'm going to be like, I have some sources all throughout baseball, and I'm hearing that a lot of teams want Ohtani. Like, a lot of teams are going to be after him. So you can take that. That's breaking.
That is breaking.
So, yeah.
We normally have a sounder for that, Grant. I'm sorry that we didn't hit you with a more formal way for you to break that news, but, man, you had it here first on 95.7 The Game. Teams want Shohei.
I'm hearing at least 3 or 4 teams want Shohei Ohtani.
Okay.
So, there's going to be competition. And, does he want to play for the Giants? He wants to do what he wants to do. He came over before. He could have waited 2 years and come over and gotten that mega contract right away. He came over and was making the major league minimum because he just wanted to do it. He went to the Angels because that's where he wanted to play. He wanted to play with Mike Trout. He liked different parts of the area. He's not someone who's getting swayed by, I've always dreamed about wearing pinstripes, or, the ghosts of Wrigley speak to me when I sleep. Like, he's not doing that stuff. It's just, where does he want to play? Maybe it is San Francisco. Maybe he just loves San Francisco for some reason, whether it's a baseball reason, whether it's a front office reason, whether it's a regional reason. I don't know, but that's going to be ultimately the decision. I think everyone's saying it's going to be the Dodgers because of the money, but he's already shown that is not what's most important to him. If money was the most important to him, he wouldn't have come over when he did.
Yep. No, it's a great point. And with the lack of what we hear directly from him, it feels like a complete guessing game for everybody. We'll keep tabs on that. We'll keep clicking on all of your stories, Grant. Get you some new shoes. And thank you. Thanks for coming on, man.
You got it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, there it is. Grant Brisbee, The Athletic, with the breaking news right here on 95.7 The Game that other teams will go after Shohei Ohtani as well.